Hi, I'm Craig Phillips. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install an award-winning raised loft boarding system from LoftZone. It creates practical storage space in your loft area. At the same time, helps to reduce your energy cost, making your home more energy efficient. LoftZone's unique design creates a new raised platform, giving you up to 350mm void below, where a new or additional insulation can be laid, knowing it's fully protected, and at the same time allowing airflow to circulate throughout, which prevents dampness. For this demonstration, I've constructed an attic area to simulate what most people would have at home. Now, finding the position of your first tri-support is important because this will dictate where the rest of them are going to go. I've set up a string line from one end of the attic all the way to the other. These are your ceiling beams, around about 100mm, and as you can see, there's insulation in and around each of those. Now, some people may have a second layer of insulation cross-laid. This will need rolling back temporarily while you can fit your system, and then it can be laid back into position. Now, safety does come first. I've laid some boards down loosely across the area where I'm going to be working in, so I'm not having to stand on the beams. And of course, wear suitable shoes, gloves and a mask. So my first one will be positioned with about a 30 to 40mm gap of the outside wall to allow cross-flow ventilation. Place the support in position and drive in one screw either side. Then you can fit your second tri-support beam, and third and fourth and fifth, fitting the 2 screws in each support. As you can see, I've fitted a tri-support on every other ceiling beam. However, when I've got to the one end here where my wall is, I can't install this one. So instead, I'm going to fit the uni support. 2 holes are provided in the base of the uni support, but you only need 1 screw into the joist. 2 holes are provided to make it easier to install from either side. Now, because every cross beam has to be supported by 2 tri-supports, I'm going to be fitting another one onto the ceiling beam here. So now I'm ready to fit my galvanised cross beams. They slide onto the support at one end and it'll bridge across to the second one, onto here. Already you can start to feel that tightening and stiffening up. I'm going to slide it all the way to the starting point here. Pull that away from about 20mm from the actual wall. And then the second one is also slid on top of that. And it bridges to that support. Then I can take a uni support, interlock that in underneath the cross beam and slide it over to the ceiling beam. And then when you're happy with the position of the uni support, you can drive one more 40mm screw through into the beam below. Then you can continue across your line, fitting your galvanised cross beams. Once they're into position, slide in your uni support and screw this into the joist below. The galvanised steel cross beams come in a variety of different lengths to suit your loft. Now take a screw, line it up in the slots through your crossbeam and drive it through into the supports below, making sure that you get at least 1 screw through the beam into the uni support and the tri-supports. So now my first row of supports and crossbeam are firmly fixed into position. I've got to think about where my second row is going to be. Now, normally we would have a 610mm gap between them. The reason behind this is the boards that span across are 1220. However, my first row, I'm going to be sitting my board directly on the edge of this crossbeam and not in the centre, as it will continue all the way across the loft area. So I'm going to take it back 40mm, with this being 80mm wide. I'll reduce that by 40 for my second row of supports. So I'm going to make a mark here at 570 millimeters. That would be the 610 less the 40 mil. Place your first tri-support on the beam straddling over your mark. Then drive in 2 screws either side of the base of the beam. So now I'm going to take the same measurements from there, transfer it on the back end and fit the uni support. Once you've found your position, mark it up with your pencil and drive in 2 screws on either side of the support. Then you can put a 3rd screw into the timber and hook your string line into position. Stretch this across nice and tight, and that's your line for the next row. Remember fitting your tri-support on every other beam. Then fitting the uni supports, screwing them down firmly into the joist below. It's important to distribute the uni support evenly under the StoreFloor system. We recommend 1 uni support for every second cross beam. So that's my second row of supports and cross beams now fitted into position. I'm going to start with the 3rd one. Now my measurements between here goes to the standard 610 millimeters. I'll take that to the center of this one, about here, and I'll make a mark there, 610. Now I'll place this into position and drive in 1 40mm screw. Do the same again the opposite end with a uni support, pop your string line through, fit the rest of your supports and your cross beams. Now somewhere in your loft space you're going to have a hatch where you gain access from in and out of the loft, and you're going to require an opening area. So where your system comes through, you don't want to be fitting your tri-support across there because that's going to lean out this way and you want it to be flush where the opening is. Therefore you're going to put the uni support, which will stand upright, being flush so it doesn't get in the way of your access hatch. Now you will have noticed on both supports it has a small lip at the bottom of them here. Now they're square to the edge, so when you place it on the ceiling beam it keeps it square and adds to the lateral strength there as well. It stops it twisting at any point like this. You put it straight up nice and tight. And then when you've fitted one bracket facing one way with the lip, you can always alternate and turn it round and place the bracket on the other side of your timber before fixing down. So with us having a uni support here to allow for the hatch opening, before we put our beam in here, we will put a secondary tri-support in here to add to the additional strength. Then continue the same as you did on the first 3 rows, fitting the supports and beams. When you slide your cross beam across the supports, you'll see there's some slots already cut out there and a pre-drilled pilot hole in the actual support below. So you must get your same 40mm screws fitted in both sides where they're on the tri-supports, and if you have a centre uni support like this, you can also put a 3rd screw in the top of there. Now when you come to fit your uni support, you've bridged across here with your beam. You can slide that underneath, twist it, shaped like a T shape, and it anchors under the bottom of the beam, and then slide it across your wooden ceiling beam below. Pull it against the wooden beam so the lip goes nice and square and tight into position. And then it can be screwed in from the top across all 3 supports. Now I can start to roll out my second layer of insulation. The depth I'm using is 170mm. This on top of my existing 100mm gives me a total of 270mm, which is the minimum requirement for building regulations. It also leaves me plenty of space above for cross-flow ventilation when the boards are installed. Now fitting the correct depth of insulation, which is the minimum of 270mm in your attic space, is like putting a lovely warm woolly hat on your house. It's helping you retain the heat inside, which is not only better for your energy bills, but also for the environment. Insulation also performs well in the summertime and acts as a barrier to stop that unwanted heat travelling into the house. So now it's time to fix your 18mm tongue and groove boards. I've placed the first one into position. Now it's important where you do fit this first one because it does dictate where the rest of them are going to be installed. Now our first beam here, we allowed for this to go right to the edge of that, leaving that 30 or 40 millimeter gap for some airflow. This bridges across the 3 beams, falls on the third one halfway across. This is where we were pacing these out earlier with our measurements. I've put a string line in to make sure it's nice and square, and once I'm happy with that position, I can then drive in the 40 millimeter screws. I'm going to put one in each beam round about the centre of the board. When you've got the first board firmly fixed into position, you can slide up the second board, making sure the groove goes directly over the tongue. Give it a little shake to reduce the gap, and then that can be screwed down using 1 screw in each beam. So now I've got 4 or 5 down on one side. I've got a good solid working platform. I'm going to make a start on my second row of boards. Now the manufacturers state you don't have to stagger the boards like traditionally you would do with a standard floorboard. This allows you to remove just one row or individual boards if you need access to any pipes or electrics below. So now I've completed the full boards down to here and I'm left with this gap. So I've got 2 options. One is you can leave it like that, of course, and that allows for lots of airflow to get underneath your decked area. Or you can continue it along, just leaving a small gap, 30 or 40 millimeters, like we did on the start of that side. So if you want to do that, all we need to do now is put another row of supports in there with the beam on top, and then you're going to have to cut down your boards, sail them across and screw them into position just like the rest of them. The StoreFloor systems are extremely strong. In fact, they're much stronger than just your joists on their own, and it's also safe to walk on. Now I can start to reorganise and store my personal possessions quicker and safer. So that's my StoreFloor system now complete. Hopefully I've inspired you to utilise your loft area and at the same time make your house more energy efficient. Don't forget to keep in touch on all social media handles. We're very, very sociable. And if you'd like to see more how-to videos like this, give us a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel.